Welcome everybody to TruExact Show. I'm here with Erik, Brian, Elly, and our guest coming back, a friend of the show. I consider him now. You know, we've been in contact since August. Kept in touch. Paul Clerkin, you've probably seen him, Nat Geo, Alien Sharks or whatnot. But before we get to that, we are back at the beach. That's why I'm wearing my Hawaiian shirt. I'm sure everyone's wondering that, who's watching. Elly's rocking the Sharks jersey. Horrible hockey team who lost in 2016 to my Pittsburgh Penguins. But she's all down with the cause, so good for her. So we're gonna get into some shark stuff that we might not have touched on back in August. And but first, Paul, how you doing, man?
Hey Scott, yeah, I'm good, man. Thanks for having me back on. It's always fun to talk to you guys. Yeah, everything's good over here. You know, we're trying to move forward with a couple of projects, but everything's just kind of getting, you know, slowed down with the pandemic.
Right. So a little update on what you were doing in August. Like, were you on to a mission that got canceled? Is there anything in the works right now? Or are you headed overseas? Are you even allowed to travel?
I mean, right now, I think traveling is kind of a problem. A lot of the places that I tend to work are kind of lesser studied areas, and they're kind of some of the areas that we're not able to travel to and from so much. I mean, it's kind of funny. We had a whole bunch of great stuff that was supposed to take off, like in 2020. We were going to work on so many projects and do so many trips, and they all kind of got changed. Even the Shark Week show we did, we had to change a whole lot just to, you know, get it done in time. But yeah, I mean, we have a couple of projects now which are like pretty much teed up, and it's just a matter of whether we can travel and come back. You know, sometimes the locations that we're going to are not accepting foreigners. So, I mean, we're just going to have to see. We're moving forward like it's going to happen, but there's no way to really tell.
Now, does that piss you off? Because as an explorer, think about it. Like, if you know these sharks are out in these regions you can't get to, and someone else is tapping the maple off of that tree and getting the drip, are you guys...
You know, he had that in his pocket earlier today. He's like, I can't wait to use this maple drip line.
I got that from Riverdale with the Blossoms. We're on to that show, the wife and I. So are you guys like, oh no, we're getting like everything's getting taken, that area? Is there like a competitiveness about it?
I mean, kind of. It's a kind of surprisingly competitive, you know, world in academia. I don't think I have, like, you know, I don't have to worry like about like something in particular, but the longer you like put off like something, the higher chances. Like, I'm not like worried about being scooped like this year, but if it gets put off another year, like eventually, you know, somebody else will do some of these projects. And some of them, you know, some of them we've been like lining up for a while and we're pretty good to go on. Some of them we've like kind of worked on before, and you know, so for the science is one thing, but the documentaries are another, because you have to deal with you know, filmmakers and everything like that. And so yeah, the filmmaking crew can be kind of competitive with all the different production companies.
Right. I know you said a lot of stuff in the text was a little confidential, so you know we might get into that stuff a little later. I'll pass it to Elly, who's new to the program, so I know she's into sharks and stuff. So if you want to go for any questions, you got Paul. Go for it.
Perfect. Okay, so do you also study? Oh, I wrote them down. I've been ready. Been ready all day. So do you also study skates or just sharks, or are skates also sharks? Because like I've never really been clear on, like, I know it's like, you know, skates, sharks, and rays, but like some of them are like long-nosed skate, and it's also classified as a shark. So like some clarification on that would be great. And then also, do you study them?
Yeah, sure. So as you were talking about the chondrichthyans earlier, those are all the cartilaginous fish. You know, the ones that have cartilage instead of true bones, and they break off into the lazarbranchs and the the chimeras. Like, so you have ghost sharks, and then you have sharks and rays, and then that, you know, breaks it obviously to sharks and rays. So they're all kind of, you know, in the same group, and I don't like actively exclude them when I'm studying. I just wind up working in areas that are focused on sharks, and if I'm working on a project for Shark Week, we've actually tried pitching them a whole bunch of projects with like rays, or you know, like the giant stingrays. They get like gigantic, and like the bowmouth guitarfish. They call them shark rays, and they're really crazy looking. But we just can't. You know, it's Shark Week. You can't put in. I mean, you know, sometimes you peppermint on the side, but you can't sell a show on a big skate. It just doesn't make sense. It'd be like trying to put a penguin in Shark Week. So I am interested in them, but I just don't study them as much, and because of that, I know less about them.
Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah, because there are some like crazy looking ones out there. Like again, like the long nose one. It looks pretty much like a shark ray hybrid, and it's pretty alien looking, no pun intended. And then another question: are there any like shark species that are strictly native to like trenches? Like, is there a deep sea Mariana Trench shark that you've like been able to study or that you're aware of?
I'm not sure of any that are only native to trench. I mean, there's like some that are. They seem, well, I think it's probably maybe because we study them so little that we only see them in one place, because we've seen some like in the Indian Ocean that are only on one seamount. They're probably on some other seamounts. Maybe they're not, because they don't seem like they travel a whole lot, so they could be isolated to that seamount.
What about the Greenland shark?
Oh yeah, Greenland sharks are cool. Yeah, you know, they're big, they're slow. They're part of the sleeper sharks. So we have the Greenland shark, the Pacific sleeper, and the the southern sleeper shark, and they're all very similar. The way that we actually tell them apart is usually like where you find them, which is not the best way to tell an animal apart. That's what we wind up doing.
And then
yeah.
The Greenland, like, isn't there some parasite that usually eats like their cornea or something, and so they're virtually blind? Do I have that correct?
Yeah, it's messed up. They get these copepods that like latch on their onto their eyeballs, and like they'll eat the lens or cornea out of their eyes, and they're just on there. When we were in Alaska doing this last project with the Pacific sleepers, they were on almost every one we got. I think had one on each eye, and they're latched on there.
Hold on, Paul. I gotta ask really quick. That's the Greenland shark with the parasite you just mentioned.
Yeah, the Greenland shark and the Pacific sleepers have it too.
Okay, let me ask you this. So apparently, according to evolution, if my knowledge is correct, the porcupine at first wasn't born with spikes. It adapted. Sharks have been around for 420 million fucking years. This thing can't adapt and like get some sort of blockage so a parasite can't eat its eye anymore? I mean, what's going on?
Well, you know what I think it is. You know, natural selection has to be enough to prevent an individual from like living long enough to mate. Because if they mate and they pass on those genes, you know, that's a passing grade. It doesn't matter, you know, if they can see or not. And they do live in like below where light penetrates the water, so they probably aren't depending that much on their eyes anyway. So it's not ideal, but I think they're able to get by without their eyesight.
Oh,
they're gangster. They don't even need eyes. Like, eat them. I don't care.
Now to follow that up, Scott, what would you suggest their evolutionary trait be to solve that problem?
They get born with goggles. They're born with goggles.
Oh, okay, yeah.
like Horace Grant, the basketball player.
Just start strapping goggles on all these sharks when you tag them.
They just published the study where they found, you know, how sharks have those abrasive denticles, which are like their tooth-like scales.
That's called dermal denticles.
Dermal denticles. That's right. They found whale sharks have them over covering their eyes.
There you go. Take notes from the whale shark, Greenland.
Well, is it possible that they could eventually evolve to just not having eyes at all? Is it possible that they could go that way?
I mean, when it comes to evolution, I suppose. I mean, there are like the blind rays. There's, you know, fish have evolved to have very small eyes or no eyes when they live in the dark. So there's a bunch of rays that have very, very small, hard to even see eyes. You know, I guess it would have to take a long time, and they'd have to have some incentive, like whether they're saving energy by not having to produce eyes.
That kind of be de-evolution. You're kind of like, you know, you were born with eyes. Fuck it. We're going back to where you don't have eyes. All right?
You don't eat them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're being eaten out by parasites, so it's not like they're really using them anyway, so why have them?
Yeah, but then they'll be killed, but then the parasites won't have any food, and, you know, the circle of life.
So essentially, like, they potentially, I mean, it's evolution, so who knows where it's going. They could be like a vestigial structure like human body hair, essentially, which is kind of, they're just there. They don't really serve a purpose anymore. They're just kind of there.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, I mean, on some of those animals, you do just see, you know, vestigial stuff when they're not using it.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever seen on a shark? Like I know that like you've seen a lot of shit, but like you hear about what they look like and you grab one up, you're like, oh my god, like this is like the weirdest shit I've ever seen.
Some of the weirdest stuff I've actually seen with sharks are ones that have survived, a lot of damage, and they seem to be doing fine. I was on a boat once, and they caught a seal shark, or they call it a kitefin shark, and it was probably, I don't know, maybe 4 feet long, and it just had no tail. And it seemed to be doing fine. It wasn't like emaciated. It was able to swim and eat and hunt and stuff like that, but just with no tail. And like I actually saw a couple of sharks with no tails. I saw one orange roughy, and its back had been bitten by something, probably a shark, and there was a scoop out of its back, and it had grown around its exposed backbone.
Ooh.
And it was like,
Wow.
no, but it was still like swimming and hunting and surviving. So yeah, some of these animals are just really robust.
It's wild. They really are alien sharks.
Yeah, there's weird ones down there, man.
Hey, what's older, sharks or alligators?
That one I don't know. Sharks have been around for over 400 million years, so before dinosaurs, before Tyrannosaurus Rex. But I don't know how long alligators have been around. Maybe Elly will know.
If I remember correctly, like as far as the alligator like family, we've done the black caiman in South America. They've been around, I want to say, almost as long as sharks, if not either the same amount or maybe slightly less, but they're up there with frogs, where it's like they just kind of always been there.
85 million years.
Oh.
Yeah.
I knew that off the top of my head. I didn't Google.
Yeah. You just didn't want to say right away.
Got it
85
tattooed on him.
Yeah.
I have a question, since you're into like the deep seas and whatnot. We didn't ask this last time you were on. I don't know why. I think Brian would like to know the answer to this. Is the Loch Ness monster real?
I mean, so actually, I used to love the Loch Ness monster when I was a kid. And I used to watch the documentaries, and they have all this like evidence, but like it just can't really be real. I mean, they should have seen something by now. People used to think it was like a dinosaur that was like hiding in there. There are some people that think it actually is like a big sleeper shark in the fresh water. But yeah, I don't know, man. As much as I want to say yes, like there's no way.
Sorry, Brian.
Actually, and there's also, the thing is, it wouldn't be like an individual. It would have to be a population, to like keep reproducing. So you would be looking for one dinosaur. You'd be looking for a whole population living in that loch.
Go on, Elly. Or Brian. Yeah.
Sorry, Brian.
River monsters. I don't know if you guys are familiar with river monsters.
Yeah.
Jeremy Wade.
Disappointing.
He did do a Loch Ness monster episode, and I forget what he found in there, but it's like the loch, like not apparently, based on his research, it couldn't really support a large life form, or it didn't have substantial like prey in there to support a large life form. Like if it was in there, it'd probably just be in there either by mistake or just checking it out or seeking refuge. But I forget what, I think it was some kind of shark is what they were suspecting. They think it was, I can't remember correctly, but I believe you can like find all of River Monsters on like Netflix or something. It's a fantastic show.
I just put it in the same classification as like Bigfoot. They're never going to find any of this stuff. And if somebody actually did, do you think any government would let that out anywhere?
Well, what's the why would they stop if people found a Bigfoot? I mean, does the Bigfoot have like information like government secrets?
He just might. You never know.
You guys see they're releasing all this stuff with UFOs. Like that's
no, the only thing.
That's crazy.
Here's the reason why I think if they did find a Bigfoot, if Bigfoot was real and they happened to capture it, somebody got it, right? I think that they would want to do some sort of specific testing on it to test its DNA, where it came from. They would want to study it and explore it before they put anything out. Just like, and it's a good thing you brought up the UFO stuff, because it's the same thing. I mean, they've known about it maybe before Roswell, but that's where they're going to put the timeline at. And then now what? 60 years later, now they're admitting, yeah, UFOs are real after 60 years of saying, like, no, it's not real. They're weather balloons. Yeah, it's just a flash of light in the sky from some sort of gas. But they wanted all that time to study it because they want to be able to use it. So it would make sense if they were to find a creature like Bigfoot, like the Loch Ness Monster, all these, the mythical things we have. But if they found those things, they would want to study them. They'd want to know everything about it, how they could kind of manipulate it in their favor, and then maybe they would come out with stuff.
I have to say that was well
Look a
thought
little
out.
skeptical on your face.
You sound insane. Like,
Like Venom, this kind of, I feel like this is like Venom, you know, where they want to study the symbiote first before they like release it and they're doing all those crazy experiments.
yeah.
It's like basically Venom, and then oh shit, actually we kind of unleashed a monster, but it's okay.
So, like, what would the difference be for like the Loch Ness monster and like when they discovered like the megamouth shark? Their megamouths are like huge sharks that were super different from any species that we had ever seen before. They actually had to make a new genus and a new family to house the species, and a new genus and a new family to house every species of parasite that they had. And they were discovered in 1976, or described in 1976, but it was, you know, there's no cover up with that.
I would say it's because it's easier to stomach for people, because you're talking about, like, it is a shark. Okay, so people are well aware of sharks. It's not something that's like out of the ordinary. If they were to say the Loch Ness Monster is real, it's a dinosaur, people would freak out. And they'd be like, what else is real? What else do they have?
That's not a bad response. I'm still on the side with Paul here, but like that's really not a bad comeback. But just for the sake of siding with our guest, you're insane.
Yeah, Brian, you make no sense.
we need Paul on again. You're an idiot. No, but I have a question that might take or entail some description and a little long run-on sentences, if you will. So if you guys have questions, go for it before I ask mine.
Frill sharks, have you worked with them?
Frill sharks?
Yes.
I've worked with specimens. I was trying to do a project with one in 2020, and I just couldn't travel to the location. So I'm hoping to do it as soon as I can travel, and I'm gonna have to, like, you know, figure out the funding thing all over again. But we were funded to go look for them last year, and then we just had to back out because we couldn't get to the location. But hopefully, we have a spot where you can there is a place where you can get them pretty reliably, but people just don't really know about it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well, there you go. Look at that. See, we used to have a fishing spot at the duck pond. It was where carps were fish. You had to like sneak under there, but I didn't like the dirty water, so I would just catch my sunnies. You know, like I didn't care about the big carp. I would just go with the sunnies. They were like,
that's what Scott calls little kids.
Hey guys, I got bait here. What do you
It's a candy.
Puppies. My puppies in the
That's funny. I don't like fishing. I just try to catch my sunnies. That's
large
funny.
mouth.
I can't be associated with you guys.
Yeah.
This is a mistake.
Well, all right. My question was, because I did watch some stuff earlier this week to prepare for this, and I don't know if you were a part of it, but like it seems like we never touched with any of the shark experts about this. The process of actually tagging great white sharks. Have you ever done this?
I've tagged sharks. I haven't tagged great whites.
So what's the process of tagging a shark?
So there's different kinds of tags. There's like acoustic tags, which are usually about that big. They can get bigger depending on the battery size and what you want this to do. So the acoustics, they send out a chirp. It's an actual sound, and that gets sent to a receiver, and they can tell what direction that tag is. They can identify the tag, and they can tell how far it is. So those are great for sharks because they'll swim around. Then you can get a lot of data from them. The downside is you need a whole array of these receivers. You kind of have like a whole network, which you can do, off the coast if you have funding. But a lot of the time I'm working in the middle of the ocean and there's no receivers. So another kind of tag is just the external tags, which we call them sometimes spaghetti tags. It's just a strip of plastic, and it usually has a barcode on it, like a serial number and contact information, and that's just a recapture thing. So if you tag a shark and you release it and somebody else recaptures it, you can actually get a ton of data because you can figure out where they went and figure out how much they grew during that time and figure out a growth rate, and you can get mortality rates, and you can get a lot of information from these cheap tags. A lot of the ones on the shows are sat tags, like the pop-up satellite archival tags, and so they're like a little computer that collects a ton of data, and then it rides on the shark, and after a certain amount of time that you program in there, it will pop off, float to the surface, and that transmits to a satellite, and then you get the data like that. And so that's the kind I usually do. Another one is like a spot tag, which is on the fin, and it transmits whenever the shark goes up to the surface because it has to break the water. But my sharks are deep sea, and that's like never going to happen.
I was going to ask how long the battery lasts while it's on it. So it given amount of time, like a month or two, and then it falls off and goes to the surface. How long do you think it would follow the shark?
I mean, it depends. A lot of the time you're limited by the size of your tags and the battery. I have some, and they're real big, and I put them on megamouth sharks because they're a big species, and the manufacturer told me they can last like 5.5 years or something like that.
Wow.
Which is, crazy. I think the longest we put one out for was 18 months.
So you can't get the data until it pops up?
Yeah, because it can't, transmit through all the water.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, it will just ride along, and it will just keep, archiving everything. And after you can program it to pop off whenever you want, and you can also program it to take a ton of data. Like the ones that we put out were that would take a suite of data every 4 seconds, and so it did that for 18 months, and then popped up and started transmitting to a satellite. And you only get chunks because it transmits all the time, but it has to wait for a satellite to be right, in orbit over. So it's always kind of spitting out data, and you just get little chunks every day.
I was going to say that, like, once it pops up, they're like, all right, who's got 5.5 years to review what the shark did? And you're just following it. Yeah, that's interesting. That's cool.
They go on, Elly. Sorry.
Oh no, it's not that important. I was just gonna ask, like, what type of information do you get from the tags, and then like how do you extrapolate the data and like organize it, and then do you have to send it off for like peer review, or what do you do with the data, and then again, how do you like interpret it?
Yeah, I mean, yes to all of that, really. Like, you get the data, and it's kind of a mess. You have to decode it and put it in and kind of figure out what it means. It's a lot messier than I thought when I first started with the tags. I just thought it would, like, you plug it in your computer, and like a map would pop up, and like, no, you have to figure out where the shark went based on like the different conditions. The tags we use uses like the layers of magnetism in the earth, and so you have to like figure out where it's going based on that. It's a huge pain. Yeah. If you get the tag back, you have even more data because you can plug it directly in the computer. But it comes in every day, and then you get the recent reports. So you compile that, and you have to figure out what the shark's been up to. So it's been kind of a headache. One thing that you can do too is people are using like these biologgers with an accelerometer in it, and that actually will give you where it's moving and how fast. The same way like your cell phone has an accelerometer into it.
Yeah, one of our other Shark Week guests said that they now see that the sharks could actually feel the pressure of the water. So when hurricanes come, they could tell that the water pressure is, I don't know if it's higher or lower, and they actually go really deep to protect themselves. They've actually evolved to understand hurricanes as a natural thing.
Oh, that's interesting. That question came up so much when being a shark expert when Sharknado came out.
Yep.
I was like, everyone was like, where do sharks go during tornadoes?
Yeah, but he said the side of their bodies are pretty much just like a big sensor for that. So if they feel the pressure of the hurricane coming, their bodies tell them that they're in shallow water, which is unsafe. They could, get washed up on the beach. So they just go lower and lower. They find lower water. So the hurricane goes over them. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's real cool. I mean, I guess they've had so much time to, evolve. They're not going to get caught up in a hurricane, you know.
Paul,
So
last time you were
Sharknado
on,
can't happen. Okay, got it.
Okay, all
Paul,
right.
last time you were on, I asked you a random question about the Malaysian flight in 2014. I won't do that again. So I'll ask.
Where is it?
I'll ask you another random question because you said that because you said that you were out in the middle of nowhere of and I was just wondering, has there ever been a time like something went wrong, like maybe like communications went down, and you were like, oh my god, like we're trapped here, we're stranded, and like maybe like, oh my god, we might have to convert to cannibalism or something.
It's pretty
I mean,
extreme.
Power's out.
Yeah, we never lost power. Actually, if you lose power, especially in a storm, you're in a lot of trouble because you have to maintain control of the boat and face it in towards the waves. You can't just be bobbing around willy nilly. So they always have a backup generator and all that. But I mean, one of the scariest when I was in the Indian Ocean, we were being
But
chased.
the Malaysian flight crashed. We'll just throw that out there. But go on.
Yeah, I mean the weather was pretty bad out there sometimes. I mean the waves were just crashing like over the top of the boathouse. It was a big boat, so that was pretty that was kind of scary some of the times. And then one time we were being like pursued by a boat that wouldn't like tell us who they were for like one day. And this is the Indian Ocean, so like that just means pirates, you know.
Yeah. Wow.
And so they kept, the captain kept trying to raise them, and they didn't respond. And then the next day, they responded, and they're like, "We're the French Coast Guard. You have to stop the boat." And the captain was like, "No, I don't," and just kept going. So it might have been French Coast Guard, but we're in international waters, so we definitely don't have to let people board us.
Can I ask you, did they chase after you, or did they just pull back?
I mean, they chased us for a little bit, but they couldn't catch up.
They were French. They were French.
Yeah. If they don't have the skull and crossbones flag, they're not a pirate.
I love French people. That was a joke. Anybody?
It was.
I'm a huge fan of French toast.
Kiss.
I feel like that's kind of a giveaway, though, that they're not the French Coast Guard, because again, like once you're in international waters, pretty much anything goes. So
Right.
I don't, unless like you're in like French waters, then yeah, you have to obey French Coast Guard rules and whatnot. But again, international waters, anything goes. So
Yeah.
To what extent? You could just drive out there. Let's go for a little ride and just kill everybody. It's like international. Is that really?
Haven't you ever?
5 miles off the coast in California, it's either 5 or 10 miles off the coast. You're in like international waters. My dad used to sail, so it's like, so I had this idea actually. We'll talk about it later. But international waters, a lot of things go. Okay. Anything goes.
We'll get Elly's idea off the record because I'm interested now. But you ever see the Simpsons one where Homer took Mr. Burns' boat, went to international waters, and they held the Tyson Secretariat fight called Slaughter in the Water? That's just it's a random Simpsons quote with a Duff Man hat on. But I do have another question about your friend, who I think is your friend, who's a friend of the show, one of the first people we had on during Shark Week, Catherine McDonald, right?
Oh yeah, I know her.
Right.
I mean,
So
He's the best.
yeah, so she got a grant funding, like to do her explorations, and I was wondering about that. I probably could have asked her, but you're on, so let's do this. How do you go about that? And like, do you guys have to throw like an essay together, or and who gives the grant?
Yeah, so I remember you told me Catherine McDonald was on last time. I've never worked with her, but I remember you told me about her.
Yeah.
Like in August, and so I'm working on the grant right now. I'm trying to get NSF funding for a project, which is the National Science Foundation, and it's a ton of work. They want everything has to be. You have to. Pretty much give a background, explain the need for this, and then do a lot of literature search. So it's a lot of work, but it also is well funded. So that's one way to do it. NSF is like a big funding source, and it's like it has to be. It's a lot of work to make the grant like the way that they like it. I've gotten some grants in the past from nonprofits, and those are smaller and maybe a little bit less structured, and you can just kind of like write about your project and seek funding and then do that. And then one of the other ways to do it is to get some of these a network involved. I feel like it's a little bit weird to be a shark researcher on Shark Week, because there's like a little bit, some of the shark researchers turn their noses up at it a little bit. But I think it's great because it's able to like fund a lot of these projects that I wouldn't be able to get funded otherwise. And it also is like a great way to get the information out to the general public, because sometimes that stuff just goes into publications and nobody reads it.
Or podcasts like ours with only 40 views, but it is what it is. No, man, that's really cool. I'm glad you got your funding, but like, is it like when you write off an expense at work, like a company? Like, what is it? Do you get like, I don't know, I don't want to give a number, 50 grand? It covers food, travel, everything?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the grant. Sometimes there's some things that they won't cover, but you give them a budget, how much it's going to cost to fly out there, how much it's going to cost to rent a boat, everything like that, any equipment that you need, and then you have to remember to put in, laboratory costs and all that stuff. So, yeah, it's a lot of work. Yeah, I mean, I feel like people think, that shark researchers were like flying around the world, grabbing sharks and swimming with them and like petting dolphins. But a lot of it's just at your laptop, either, writing applications for funds or writing up your results so you can publish it.
Damn.
But that can be so exciting once you get it, though, and you're like, yes, I get to go out now,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, it's a lot of prep for it, but it's worth it, especially to see some of the cool stuff. Or when you get in the water with a shark, it's really exciting.
What would you say the acceptance letter for a grant, when you're writing those applications, like, are you writing it like this will probably happen, or is it like, I really want this to happen, I hope they say yes? Like, what is that like?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes if you're going into it and it's like a little bit like, you're not sure, you go ahead and take the shot and you can get shot down, which I've had happen. Sometimes though, you'll, especially if you're at a conference or a meeting and you're talking to people and they'll be like, oh, that's perfect for our NGO, and you can, you already kind of have a foot in the door, because, if they bring it up, that would be a good project. So, it's kind of all over the place. Applying blind, it can be, kind of hard, especially depending on how competitive the grants are.
Okay. Is there anything that's like, not like a sure thing, but a specific topic or a shark that you're like, this will definitely get grant?
No, I mean, not really. A lot of the time, if it's more, if there's more, direct like application for like, anybody who's making money, if you're working on some project to, keep sharks from taking bycatch off the hooks, like that's more likely to get funded because people will save or make money off your results. Opposed to something, like a lot of the projects I want to do is like, yeah, let's go just look for weird sharks. It's like, if nobody makes money, it's harder for to get funded.
It's not like Deep Blue Sea research. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah, I would love to be. I would sign up for a job on that boat.
You would? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Actually, I was contacted a while ago by an Australian group, and they wanted to build an at-sea aquarium, all for great whites. And they said they said they're going to float at sea, and because we have a lot of trouble keeping great whites in captivity because they're large open water species. So they're just going to catch them every week or whatever. They said they had shark wranglers, and they're going to have like this whole facility, and people will be coming. They'd have to shuttle them in and out. And they were talking to me about working on a project with them, and I'm like, this is like definitely the beginning of like a horror shark movie, right?
Yeah.
Like that we lose power or something, and we can't get back to shore, and a hurricane's coming in.
That's like somebody giving you a call and being like, look, I figured out a way to bring back dinosaurs. You interested? I don't know, but there's like 5 movies that say why that's a bad idea.
Yeah. Elly, I got some more questions, but I know you wrote some down. So if you got any more questions, go for it.
Oh yeah, where did you do your undergrad?
I did my undergrad at Cornell up in upstate New York. I transferred there. I was at a community college for like a billion years, then transferred out to Cornell.
Cool.
See, we have something in common, Paul. I went to community college too.
Cool, man. Yeah, I went to
That's
Sac
all.
City.
Look at me now.
He's like, cool, man. All right.
Like, yeah, I'm a shark expert.
No, I loved my time at. I went to Sac City I went there for 7 years.
From Sac?
Which is a long time. Yeah, I'm from Sacramento. You from Sac?
Oh shit! Bay Area represent, although Bay Area adjacent, but very cool.
That's pretty. Yeah, I didn't even know you're from Sacramento. See, we got two Cali people on here.
I
And
say Cali.
California.
Say the thing. Say
We're bi-coastal.
Yeah.
By coast.
Why can't I say Cali? Is that like a East Coast thing? It's like
hell. No one says that.
I do.
G-Man says it.
You're
So
not from there because you're like just a bunch of, you're from the East Coast, so it's like, yeah, typical, but.
California. Okay.
No. That's not better.
Good job. Good job.
Paul, you mentioned that the grants can't get funded. Now, you know me. We've talked a little bit. I'm a straight shooter, and I want to ask you. You don't have to say names. Just give a yes or no. Is there a sleaze bucket or scumbag who makes backdoor deals that he gets the grants he wants, and he blocks you guys, the hardworking people? You don't have to say a name, but is there one or two people that is universally not liked in this field?
Oh man, you mean you can't get started with the with the stuff in the shark world. There's like, but it tends to kind of break into like kind of factions. There's like the people that are more pure science. There's the people that do more of the high profile stuff. It's there's not. I mean, there's not a ton of beef, but there's a little bit of people like, oh, that person's like weird, avoid them and stuff like that.
Yeah, because we had the shark suit inventor Jeremiah Sullivan on, and boy, did he not like one or two people. But we'll talk about that another day. Okay? And I'm wondering if the names are the same. I'm gonna ask you while we're off the air. For
Okay.
As far as Shark Tank goes, the show. Now you know how they partner up to invest. Do you guys ever do that? Like for grants, like let's say for instance, just names are thrown out to you and Miss McDonald or Dr. McDonald, like, hey, we have this idea, but we might not get a grant, but let's work together, write it together. Have you guys ever teamed up as shark experts to like do something together that have the same interest?
Yeah, I mean that's not uncommon, especially if you. I'm talking. One of my friends is trying to study sharks, and he wants tissues to look at, like muscle tissues or fin clips to look at plastic buildup. How much bioaccumulation there is of plastic, and I want tissues to look at genetics. And so we're like, hey, let's just take, 2 samples and we'll trade. We'll get twice the amount of work done.
You don't know what I need tissues for, and you don't want to know. That's for another podcast.
How do you go about measuring the amount of plastic in their tissue? Like when you go to their stomach?
This is his project, and I don't know much about it. But what I think it is how like there's all like the water bottles when you drink the water. There's like some chemicals get in there. So I think what it is an accumulation of those chemicals. So they get integrated into their tissues because if you eat a piece of plastic, you're not going to absorb that much of it. But I think it's a long-term absorption of those chemicals that he's interested in.
Yeah, it makes sense over years.
All right, Paul. We could get to our last segment. If anyone else has any questions, give it to them. If not, we could go into the fun segment. Elly, you got anything else?
Oh yeah, really quick. So when you bring up sorry, that's my dog's foot. That's his other foot. Okay. Sorry, he's really good at interrupting. So when you bring up like your deep sea sharks and whatnot, and when they're changing like pressure and whatnot, for like their eyes pop out, will that ever mess up your metrics? Like, because their bodies kind of get all wonky and messed up since they're from their very high pressure environment to essentially no pressure. will that ever like skew your metrics, like for dimensions, or do you like have a formula to like, calculate that out, or how does that work for you?
So sharks don't have swim bladders like fish, like bony
Okay.
fish. Bony fish, they get the pressure change can be pretty bad. Their stomachs usually extrude and their eyes can bulge, and it's pretty rough on them. The sharks don't seem to have that. They still have some gas in their blood and everything like that, but they just don't really go through like the really big change. With the oxygen or with the gas in their stomachs expanding. But that being said, there's a whole pile of problems with like taking those different morphometric measurements, because a lot of the time they're taken from different people by different people. Sometimes there's like kind of different definitions if they're not clear enough. And then one thing is, if you're working with preserved specimens, you keep them in ethanol, which takes out all the water, and they wind up changing shape. So there are a lot of kind of issues down the line with that stuff. And sometimes you get really large ranges of measurements, which doesn't make identification any easier.
Okay. Interesting. Well, thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so you ready for the gun to your head segment here? Because I know last time I think. Oh yeah, Paul's like, oh yeah, that shit. So, I think
Brian won last time.
I thought it was
Brian
fun
won.
last time. Yeah, Brian, I forget what he had. It was a hammerhead something, maybe.
Street shark.
well, it was a little overrated of a question, but whatever.
I heard it today, and I think I won. But hey, what's the past? That was 2020. Looking forward.
Let's not forget, I did bring up Falcor from the Neverending Story that Brian still has not watched since that day, but we'll go on with it. So Elly's like, these guys are so competitive, it's ridiculous. And I'll start off first because people think I cheat and I go last just to get a victory, right? So I'm going to ask you first, all right, Paul, you ready?
Ready, man.
I'm nervous now. Oh, my God. All right. Would you rather just get thrown overboard or for a year watch the movie Overboard? Yes.
Probably watch the movie Overboard. I mean, opposed to dying.
Yeah.
That's fair. I could throw you a life raft, but it is what it is. Okay. Would you rather get stuck in the lost city of Atlantis or in the wrong city in Atlanta?
Atlantis. That actually would be pretty cool.
All right. If you came back, you come and tell the story. That's fine. Solid question. I'll give myself
I'd be
0.5.
You give yourself your own rating.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
I'll rate myself first. I win next.
Erik, we'll go with you because I know you cheat and write these while the show's going on.
No, this is 8:33. All right. Would you rather be a great white shark with human teeth or a human with great white shark teeth?
Oh man, those both sound pretty bad, right? Shark teeth on a human. I'm gonna go with that
but then they can't bite as much. It's such a good question.
That's a good one.
Yeah. This is kind of similar to that one. This is kind of similar. I just want to hear your answer. Be a shark with human limbs or a human with shark fins?
Yeah, those would both be terrible. Right? Imagine how what a useless shark you'd be trying to take down a seal, just
you're just slow as hell.
With human teeth too.
Yeah, the seal's like, get away from me.
Just quit it.
Fighting me.
Yeah. Yeah, those are so good. Anyway.
Yeah, those are both good. I would be a human in both cases because it's a death sentence if you're a shark. With human legs, you're just gonna die.
Sure. Yeah.
Over here, you'd have to try to get your own reality TV show, Shark Boy.
You'd be rich. You'd be a rich shark teeth fin person.
Sometimes two really good questions cancel each other out. I'm just gonna say. So, Elly, do you have any or no?
Brian can go.
All right, Brian, you're up.
Okay, I'm expecting big things.
Oh no. Damn it. All right. Let's see.
Oh,
What? No. I'm ready to go.
there it is.
Just go.
Would you rather be labeled a cry baby or have to make a baby cry?
Damn it,
that's a good bad one. I don't, like part of me is like, well, cry baby, because like I could just get the label and not make a baby cry, but like babies are crying all the time anyway, right? So, but I go with being labeled cry baby, just so I wouldn't have to feel bad.
The last thing Paul needs is to say, "I'll make a baby cry." Nat Geo, Elly and Shark, Paul Clerkin.
Baby torture.
For a year, would you rather have to wear sweatpants or a wetsuit?
I already spent 2020 in sweatpants.
There you go.
Yeah, sweatpants over the wetsuit. Have you guys ever had a wetsuit on? They can be uncomfortable after.
They're awful.
To my body structure.
Once you get out of the water, it's just to get it off. It just sucks to your skin. It's awful.
They're like soccer jerseys. They outline everything, and that's bad for me. So I can't put one on.
Well, you know the trick to warming it up, right?
Put it in the microwave before.
That's what they say.
Take a
little 98.6 on that bad boy. Yeah, you always have to do it.
All right, Elly, do you have any or no? We'll go.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, go on.
So, would you rather eat shark fin soup or turtle fin soup?
Oh, there's no good answer for that one.
Because either way, you're a horrible person.
Yeah, I know.
And you have to eat soup.
I'd rather have a gun to my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a terrible question. We'll go with the turtle fin. Are they in as much trouble as the shark fin?
Turtles? Yeah.
They are.
You'd have to go with turtle because God forbid you wanted a grant and someone's like, you're going to kill them for shark.
Oh yeah.
Save them or eat them. What are you trying to do, bro?
You got these pictures
I'm
of
not
Paul
going on
in
Turtle
shark
Week
fin
anytime
soup.
soon, so.
Yeah, that's shark. Is that it, Elly? You got one? We're good?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, Paul, you got to pick a winner here. There's a tough. I mean, there's a lot. You got the overboard question.
That one stands out on me.
I have to go with the human shark teeth situation. That was really good.
I consider that a win. I consider that a win.
I'll go out on a limb, Erik. This is a bullshit. Best question you've ever had.
What one?
Your shark teeth one. The best question you've ever had. That might be.
I don't know about that.
Play him back. Play him back.
This is what happens when I give compliments. Like, just take it. I don't get this nice.
Yeah, that was all right. I think the Sailor Jerry one was pretty fun.
Yes.
Shark teeth.
That was better.
Paul, thanks for coming on, man. Look forward to seeing you. Hey, when you get the projects rolling again, let us know. Like, seriously, we'd love to have you on again. And Shark Week is coming up in August, so we will definitely contact you if we don't talk to you by then and get you on. By the way, is there a chance if you catch a shark, you could name it TruExact? Is that possible?
Oh, my God.
It would be possible.
Okay, we'll talk after the show.
Oh, that's
What about Erik asked the best questions? That's a good one, too. That's a good show.
Oh, man. We should talk about bad shark names at some point on one of these.
That's cool.
That's a great random topic, by the way. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Paul, thanks for coming on, man.
All right, thanks for having me. Yeah, let's do it again soon.